What's up, everybody? This is Fred Richani of TSC News. On this week's episode, we're taking a special look at the annual Action Martial Arts Hall of Fame weekend in Atlantic City, run by Master Alan Goldberg, bringing in some of the biggest names in combat sports under one roof for one positive cause, which is kicking bullying to the curb.
Well, I did a couple movies last year. Coming out, just came out, was Death Fighter. I shot it in Thailand, and it's an action movie with Joe Lewis, Cynthia Rothrock, Matt Mullins. And it was shot on location in Thailand. That's out right now. And Paying Mr. Spaghetti, which is a martial art action comedy. That's in the film festivals right now. It'll be coming out later this year. And then we'll film The Martial Art Kid 2 later this year as well.
That's awesome, man. Now, I'm wondering about your thoughts on the state of martial arts, especially when it comes to mixed martial arts, the UFC, and kickboxing. I feel like UFC's kind of stabilized, become more mainstream these days. But one thing that I've been a fan of for a long time is kickboxing, especially in Japan with K1. It was pretty big back in the day. And for whatever reason, I feel like it just hasn't taken off in the U.S. despite Glory's efforts, Bellator kickboxing. Do you feel like at some point, someday, kickboxing can take off in the U.S.?
Well, you know what? It's had its day. It's a cyclic thing. You know, in my day, they called it the golden era of kickboxing. In the 80s, we were on ESPN, and then we were on network TV, and we had some pay-per-view shows as well. But, you know, people like new things. And basically, UFC and MMA is kickboxing. It's kickboxing with grappling. So because of that, I mean, people feel like they're getting their kicks and punches, and then they add the grappling on the ground for submission. So I like the sport. Had MMA been around in my day, I would have done it, of course. Yeah. So it's not like kickboxers versus MMA. It's still a form of kickboxing. Just like boxing is like us. From the waist up, if there's no kicking, it's boxing. And we added the kicks, and then they added the grappling. So if you're a fight fan, I like them all. I like them. Look, obviously, boxing is pretty popular because Conor McGregor made $100 million and Mayweather made $100 million. Nobody threw a kick. Yeah. Nobody did a submission. But they got $100 million. Now, they don't make $100 million in the UFC, do they?
No.
No, so obviously, as popular as UFC is, it seems to be that boxing still is the big moneymaker. And then, you know, UFC comes behind it. And like you said, the K1 was one of the moneymakers for years in Japan. So, you know, there's no competition. I believe it's all good, and I like all kinds of combat sports.
What's one piece of advice you can give people as far as martial arts goes and how they can get through life?
Well, you know, the first thing, martial arts, it's not about the fighting. It's not all about the fighting. It's about improving yourself as a human being. And so when you take a martial art class, you will learn self-discipline. You know, there are many life lessons that you learn that will help you and translate into regular life. I believe Chuck Norris and I both translated our success in martial arts into successful entertainers. I started in 30 films, and Chuck had Walker, Texas Ranger, I believe, 8 years. So we were able to take the lessons we learned as martial artists and transfer them to success in entertainment. So it can, I believe the lessons you learned is not just for self-defense and fighting, it's also for life.
Is it rare that you're in a room where you're not the toughest guy in it? No, I'm usually one of. I don't want to say the toughest because you never know in a self-defense situation. Yeah. But I think I kickboxed for 28 years. So that's a long career. And I knocked out 48 professional kickboxers. So I'm one of the better experienced kickboxers. So most rooms don't have anybody with my record. Most rooms. But, you know, you never know in a self-defense situation, you never know what's going to happen. What's up, everybody? This is Fred Richani of TSC News, standing alongside the legend WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. Bob Backlund. We're here at the Action Martial Arts Hall of Fame Expo in Atlantic City. Mr. Backlund, how's it going?
It's going great. I've been having fun ever since I got to Atlantic City. And all of these people here are great. They're wonderful people, and we're having a tremendous lot of interesting times, even stories.
We sure are, and you're looking great. Before we get to everything that's going on with you and the WWE, how do you maintain your looks, man? I mean, you haven't aged a day.
I live every day to the fullest, and I have fun every day. I'm interested every day. I have energy every day, and I stay that way. I go, and then until I have to go to bed.
Now, your most recent run with WWE was with Darren Young, who a lot of people feel is pretty underrated. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if you know, but he was recently released. I think he's going to end up landing on his feet. Seems like a real nice guy. Can you talk a little bit about the time you spent with him and making him great again?
Oh yeah, they called me up and they said, we got to make Darren Young great again, and it was a pleasure. He's a nice man, a good person, and he can climb the ladder of success, but he's got to buckle down and do what he's told, and I wanted him to change his routine in the ring some with more wrestling, and he would probably do a lot better, and but he didn't really agree with that, so we kept together, but he's out there, and you're going to hear about him later in his life.
Was there anybody other than Darren Young when you were back in WWE that maybe caught your eye? Somebody that you said, wow, if this guy or girl came around back in my day, they would be a big star?
Well, you know what? In my wrestling career, I was here, and the wrestlers were out here. I wasn't in the group. I was an individual. I learned something from high school wrestling that kept me online. I had a goal. I want to get to that spot, and I got to do what I got to get to that spot. And I don't want to listen to all the garbage on the sideline. I don't need to know what's going on at midnight night. And I didn't think about it, but I had to get to that point. I wanted to be the champ.
So do you feel like, with all due respect to the current talent, that some of them are maybe a little too friendly and some of them should be a little more aggressive when gunning for that top spot? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, when you got a mission, you don't sideline. You don't pay any attention to it. I learned something from Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill that made me able to keep all negative things out of my body and out of my mind. I have a no stress zone right around here. It's not very big, but nothing negative comes into it. That's why I'm happy every single minute of the day. You got that, Fred?
I got that. I'm very happy, Mr. Backlund.
Where were we?
Well, at the time of recording...
Fred!
Yeah.
Where next?
All right. Well, at the time we're recording this interview, Mr. Backlund, the Royal Rumble is just 24 hours away. You're somebody that's had a decorated career. You've competed in the Royal Rumble. Can you tell us a little bit about your Royal Rumble memories and any advice you give any superstar in the Rumble matches?
Don't let anybody take you down. And the Royal Rumble is an amazing thing, but and I had a lot of fun there back in a few years in the Royal Rumble. You got a kind of a record in the time limit, but it's very intense, and you got all those people, and you can't predict anything. Wrestling is unpredictable, but the Royal Rumble is more unpredictable than even the wrestling business.
Now, I see you're holding a book, your autobiography. You want to tell us a little bit about that and where fans can find it?
This is my book. It's a book about my life. People can get it at bobbacklundnow.com. bobbacklundnow.com. You can order this, or you can order suspenders, or you can order a poster. And you know what? I have this book. And I'm on a mission now. I'm on a more important mission than I've ever been on in my life. And we call it Backlund Energy.
How you doing today? A lot of people.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill helped me a lot. I want this book to come out there and help you become more successful and become more energized. Backlund Energy is going to come to your house through this book. The things in this book that I learned from professional wrestling, I went out and conquered 2 colleges and left a mark that's still in both of them, Waldorf Junior College and North Dakota State University. After that, after I realized how valuable these principles were, I went out and got into the wrestling business. I came home. I left home in 1973. And in 1978, I walked out of the ring of Madison Square Garden with the WWF belt around my waist. That's what these principles did for me. I conquered it. I took it over. And I was hated by the other wrestlers because I was an individual. I was a person that had a goal in his mind. And I wasn't going to deviate. You got that, young man?
Yes, sir.
Backlund Energy all over the country. I'm done.
Thank you.
Backlund, bobbacklundnow.com. Get it now. You too.
Thank you, Mr. Backlund. What's up, everybody? This is Fred Richani of TSC News, sitting alongside the world's strongest man, former WWE World Heavyweight Champion, Mark Henry. Royal Rumble weekend. We're here at the Action Martial Arts Hall of Fame weekend in Atlantic City. Mr. Henry, what brings you here today?
You know what, man? I'm just love Alan Goldberg. Just an honest and sweet guy. I've known him for years and years, and I told him I was going to come, and here I am.
Now, you've had an incredible wrestling career, but you also had an amazing powerlifting career. I mean, you're a tremendous athlete, and I was doing a little bit of research on you, saying, okay, what can I talk about with Mark Henry? And my God, I mean, your list of wrestling accomplishments is insane, but your pre-wrestling accomplishments are insane as well. When you look back, I mean, do you really feel like it's kind of like a tale of two lives, the one before wrestling and the one during it?
You know what? It's actually been about 4 lives. I started off in powerlifting, became a world champion, went on to Olympic weightlifting, became the national champion, 2-time Olympian, and while I was wrestling, I actually kind of said, you know what, I'm gonna go back. And I started doing strongman, and in 2002 won the world championship and world strongest man. So, and then to win a world championship in pro wrestling, I think I'm listed as the only human being that's won a world title in 3 sports that have nothing to do with each other.
That's pretty incredible. And you had a nice cameo on the 25th anniversary of Monday Night Raw with The Godfather. And it reminded me of how long you've been around. I mean, since, what, 1996, right?
95. Like, it's been a long time.
So for you, you're a guy that started out, came in with a lot of hype after the Olympics, went through some adversity, but really ended your career on a high note. Do you have any advice for any wrestlers right now that have been in WWE for a while, or another organization that maybe are kind of going through the struggle creatively in a rut, and what they need to do in order to break out? Because you're a guy that, you know, was up and down. You were in some main events, you were out, you're injured, you were in OVW at one point, and then all of a sudden, like, the last 5, 6, 7 years of your career were some of the best work you had.
Well, I mean, there's always storms, and, you know, a lot was expected out of me. You know, I'd never done wrestling before, and I came in cold turkey. So for me to come out of an anaerobic sport and go to an aerobic sport and to become world champion is, you know, pretty unheard of. I'm proud of the fact that it was a lot of work that went into it. But it wasn't shocking to me. You know, it took me about 3 or 4 years to get really rolling. And I mean, you look at people that train for a black belt, you know, it's not gonna happen in a year or 2. You know, so once I got my steam up, it was just rolling downhill. And you know, I got in a lot of fights and arguments with people, and that's why I went to Canada, and that's why I went to OVW, because, you know, you have to humble yourself. You have to acclimate yourself to whatever industry that you're in. I said, man, you meant for this business. And he didn't agree. He wanted to keep doing strongman. And after about 2 more years, he finally said, hey, man, you think you can still get me into wrestling? And I was like, hell yeah.
You need help there, Sam?
Here he is.
Well, Mark, we really do appreciate the time. As somebody that's had tremendous success, what's the best piece of advice you can give everybody watching this right now?
If I was going to give advice to somebody, I would say shoot your shot. Don't rest on your laurels. Don't think that stuff is going to come to you. You have to go and take it until people tell you to stop.
But these last couple of years, you've been wrestling guys like Tom Lawler and just been everywhere. AIW, like Joey Janela's Spring Break. What brought the Beast back into the squared circle?
The funny part about that, I've had a dual career. I started my professional wrestling career as of the 1992 Olympics. I then jumped into the cage fight world as of 1994 and first began back in the no-holds-barred era. I've had a dual career ever since. The bad part, why people don't see me as often, or they wonder why I jump back in. Most professional wrestling promoters only try to book you somewhere in the 4 to 6 week out duration of time. I work with law enforcement. I work with corrections, air marshal, border patrol, military, and I'm just doing amateur wrestling clinics for high schools and junior high. These folks are booking me 6 months to a year out. So by the time the professional wrestling promoter contacts me, I'm like, I would love to, but I'm booked for that weekend.
Right.
So there's only one of the Beast. If I could only order up a few more clones, slap some mustaches on them, send them on out there, I'd be okay.
Now, I know you're also friends with Don Fry, and I'm not sure how much you keep in touch with him these days, but
yeah.
I do recall hearing that he was having some rough times with his health. Can you give us a little bit of an update on the Predator, Don Fry?
I have known Don since he started his career at Arizona State University. I was one of the coaches at Arizona State at that time, and Don even lived with a couple of my younger brothers, so I know Don on a much more personal basis. I helped Don get his start in the no-holds-barred arena, which is now known as mixed martial arts. But I say to Don, is a guy that kept his career going for himself. Now, yes, Don has been in some real battles. I mean, they like to show. They love showing some of his clips that he's had overseas, where they're basically cradling each other's head and they're just punching each other out and trying to see who's going to quit smacking each other in the head. Well, let's face it, being in those battles, whether you were Don Fry or anybody else, if you're in a battle like this, it's going to take a certain toll away from you. So it has taken something away from Don to where, will he ever be 100% Don Fry? No. Just like, well, Dan Severn will never be 100% of what Dan Severn once was, because to have that many matches, you lose something each time. It just, hopefully you walk away with enough mental faculties and enough health and stuff like that that you can live a very healthy life from that point on.
And Don himself also had a nice professional wrestling career. You got a little bit of a longer run, but I mean, Don did his thing in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yes, no, Don was able, like I said, he started off in the cage fight world, he went right back in the professional wrestling world, so kind of a duplication of each other. Must be the mustache thing, you know?
How do you maintain the beast looks? And you look great. How old are you now?
I am closer to 60 than I am to 59 right now. So
I don't believe you.
Well, rest assured, it may not be the right color of the hair, but at least I still have hair to throw back some magic through. So you have to make sure that you dye eyebrows and mustache in order to blend all on in right there. But I will probably continue doing that for who knows how many more years before I will start to truly act my age, because I have a lot of fun at events like this. I'm out teaching seminars, and I've had a lot of people that come up and be like, dude, I met you 20 some odd years ago. I met you 30. I remember you when I was in high school, and these are folks that are not looking too good. They're like going, where's this fountain of youth that you do? I go, well, genes are one of those parts that I've been blessed with good genes, but then also doing something. I'm a big believer in that lifestyle choices. So, Father Time is undefeated. How long did you stick around, and how much fun did you have along the way? So I eat right, I exercise right, and I do take certain supplements to make sure that I'm doing all the best things so I can have a long and quality of life.
One guy that you worked with early in your career, at least in your wrestling career, Al Snow, he's also looking great. Did you rub something off on him?
Al Snow, what a great guy. I mean, he's a very fun, just a great character. He was where I started my professional wrestling career down in Lima, Ohio, when they had the Body Slammers gym down there. It was a great individual by the name of, his real name was Dennis Kasperwitz. His ring name was Denny Cass. He was the president of the Michigan Wrestling Club, and I was the head wrestling coach. So right around that 1992 period of time, I heard about the rule changing, because I had several professional wrestling companies that approached me in the mid-'80s, but I didn't want to turn pro then, because had I turned pro then, I would have lost my amateur wrestling status. But as of the 92 Olympics, I could be a professional wrestler, and I could still make a national team, a world team, or an Olympic team, because that was still in my aspirations there. So, but Al, what a great guy, very funny guy. He puts you through a hard workout, but you're going to have a feel-good chuckle. So it doesn't feel like you've been working that hard.
I don't know if you've been following the NWA's resurgence, but Billy Corrigan of the Smashing Pumpkins did purchase a controlling stake in the NWA. They've been doing a great series called 10 Pounds of Gold online. Been really trying to bring back some of the legends. You're one of the legendary NWA champions of the 90s. Could we see you make a comeback in the National Wrestling Alliance at some point?
I hope that Billy Corrigan gets a chance to see this, to know that I have a great deal of interest in being a part of this. If I can help it out and be utilized in the correct fashion, I would be more than happy to lend my services to the NWA.
Awesome. Well, Dan, before we let you go, of course, we're here with Bullying. We're kicking it. We've both been involved with this program for quite a long time. Do you want to talk about the positive impact that they made? Now people can get involved.
Well, obviously going to the website, and with the website being
Kickinit.org.
Kickinit.org. It's a great program. Bullying, a lot of people think of bullying as strictly as physical, but it could be physical, but then also just a lot of online type of bullying. To me, common sense goes a long way. If you have people that are trying to pick on you, simply delete them. Don't allow them to be, don't let them allow you to affect yourself or whatsoever. For example, I do a lot of different things on an annual basis. Does everyone like Dan Severn? No. And to certain naysayers, and I see them put something negative, I just go, here you go, tough guy, delete, and they're gone from my life. I'm not going to dwell on that one person. Move on. Because I look at it both ways. You don't allow yourself to become the victim. If someone says something, delete, move on. Surround yourself with good people, positive people. If you're going to hang out in certain groups, you're just simply bringing things onto yourself. So use some intelligence with the people you hang out with.
Thank you so much, Dan. Actually, one more question. Since Monday Night Raw just celebrated its 25th anniversary, and it's almost the 20-year anniversary of Brawl for All.
Is it really? Wow.
Looking back, how bad of an idea was Brawl for All, especially considering they were smart enough to book a UFC champion in the midst of professional wrestling?
No, incorrect. When that concept was being told to all of the talent that was there, they made the comment that the only two athletes that will not be allowed in it was Ken Shamrock and Dan Severn. It wasn't until several weeks into the Brawl for All that one of the road agents came up to me and said, hey Dan, how would you like to be in the Brawl for All tonight? And I'm like, how much and who? They gave me a name, they gave me a number. I go, done. I go, except I don't want to wear any boxing gloves. They're like, well, you can't go out there bare knuckle. I said, I'll never punch him. But I want to show you what a real wrestler can do against someone that's going to simply be trying to punch you. That man will never touch me, and I'll just tie him up. As it was, he still never touched me, but I had to do it all with 20-ounce boxing gloves on. So, but once that match was done, I came back out. They're like, now you're off the show. I'm thinking, what was that all about? So, again, I'll never know why I was invited on and why I was then taken off. I can merely speculate.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for your time, sir. Where can fans find you online?
They can simply just go to my website at www.dansevern.com. On dansevern.com, there's all my social medias are located there, and then they can find out the Twitter, the Facebook pages, and all the other social media. So www.dansevern.com is the place to go.
I'm old enough to remember when your nickname, at least on Facebook, was Mr. Kick You in the Head. Nowadays, you're kicking people in the head, but not inside the cage, but on the big screen. People may know you from straight Outta Compton as Suge Knight. You're also at the Oscars. You've also been in Luke Cage. You're everywhere these days. How's it going, man?
Man, it's actually going excellent. Blessed to be here at the mega weekend for Martial Arts Hall of Fame and visit. It's like a family reunion. I started here and I'm never leaving again. I'm always gonna be here. I'm always gonna be here.
So you're not the first fighter to break into acting,
No.
but you're certainly one that's done very well for yourself in what seems like a relatively short amount of time. How'd you get your big break and end up becoming a working actor?
Well, it started. That's the best way. I tell people, get in the stunts. Try to get in the stunts. A judge, one of my fights, saw me kick somebody in the head. And said, you want to try some stunts? And after a year, I said, yeah. And I started as a stunt double for an actor. And then I started doing stunts, then became stunt actor, and then I started auditioning and got some good roles. And the big role that really was straight Outta Compton when I played Suge Knight. And since then, I've been blessed.
Now, when I saw Straight Outta Compton, I love the film, by the way.
Yeah, thanks.
I was scared as hell of the fictional Suge Knight, just as much as the real Suge Knight. And I know you're an MMA fighter and all, and you're a guy with a martial arts background, you're a tough dude. But I gotta imagine psychologically, it must be a little tough to kind of get in that dude's head, because that's a bad dude. I mean, what was it like becoming Suge Knight?
Well, it's funny because the director, F. Gary Gray, said he wanted me as a method actor. Method meaning you are that character, you are him. So on set, all day, all night, you are that person. Oh yeah, by far, everybody from Corey to Eric Mitchell, everybody, the whole cast is doing great. I mean, everybody's working. Everybody's the cast itself. It was like we were just hungry. and you had, you know, the original NWA members supporting this and being there. And these are people we looked up to growing up, and to be there was a blessing.
For sure. Now, from what I understand, Suge Knight was not too happy with this portrayal. Does that bother you at all?
It's funny because in the beginning, I got death threats the first 2 weeks I was on Outta Compton. But I'm still here, and I don't know, his cousins were at the premiere, and they said, you did good. You did good. So I'm like, I don't know if he's on good terms with his cousins, but people liked it, and it worked out. So I'm happy. So God bless him. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't. Thank you, Suge. Thank you, Suge.
And I'm happy you're here.
Thanks.
You've done a little bit of everything since then, including the Oscars, which is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats to you on that.
Thanks, man.
What's next for you?
Well, I just there's a new series coming out called Step Up High Water. It's based on the movie Step Up. It's on YouTube Red. It premieres January 31st. So it's 10 episodes. I play a character his name is Easto. He's a very colorful human being. He loves hard, and he works hard for the people he loves. It's going to be very electrifying. It's definitely something I've never done before. And then next month I'm shooting a movie called Zed in New Orleans, and some other stuff too that I can't say. And I have to lose weight again. I gain weight and lose weight. It's crazy, this business, but so far so good. And I'm just blessed to work and being around a lot of positive people, like right now.
We're kicking it, and that's what we're doing. I'm Don the Dragon Wilson, and we're kicking it for martial arts.
My name is Merciless Ray Mercer, and bullying, we are kicking it together, baby. Let's all come in and do the right thing for this. All our kids get bullied. We don't want that no more. GinaMarie, she's doing what she got to do to stop it. Let's join in.
Yeah, this is Mr. International, Shonie Carter, playing with a passport, and yes, I'm holding court. Guess what, for your first thought? Bullying. We're kicking it.
Hey, I'm R. Marcos Taylor, and this is Bullying, We're Kicking It.
Dan the Beast Severn here, the only Triple Crown champion in the UFC's history. And talking about bullying, we're kicking it here.
I'm Cynthia Rothrock. Bullying, we are kicking it.
This is Sasha Mitchell from Step by Step and kickboxing movies. Let me tell you, bullying, we're kicking it together. Woo!